The most perilous chapter in Nile exploration in 2014 began when LEVISON Woods set off from the misted headwaters of the river in Rwanda. What followed was part travelogue, part investigation, and wholly an adventure that threaded 5 countries and some of the most contested landscapes of modern Africa. Over the next year, he walked roughly 4,250 miles northward through Uganda's lakeside communities, the swamp-dotted flats of South Sudan, the river towns of Sudan, and finally into the choked canals of Egypt, recording what he saw and survived. Context mattered. Woods' trek came after South Sudan's independence in 2011 and in the teeth of the civil war that erupted in 2013. Entire riverbank communities had been uprooted by violence. The Nile that fed millions had become a front line and a prize. As his camera followed his boots, the journey revealed more than natural hazard. It exposed a pattern of competing interests that fed violence and displacement. Oil concessions carved into South Sudan's marshlands, militias financed by resource capture, and local power brokers who used checkpoints and paperwork to control movement formed a web that functioned like a conspiracy, not an isolated plot, but an entrenched system that preferred profit and power to transparency. Tension arrived fast and visually. In Uganda, he walked past farmers who treated him like an oddity, and then led him to farms where irrigation and fisheries depended entirely on seasonal Nile floods. In South Sudan, the river widened into a mosaic of reed and water, where villages had been abandoned and makeshift flags marked new militia lines. Checkpoints bristled with young men armed with a mixture of looted military rifles and old grievances. Woods' production team negotiated permits and bribes. Sometimes they were waved on, sometimes told to wait, and in one town, an intelligence officer insisted the camera be turned off. Those encounters were small but telling. Control of the river meant control of movement, commerce, and narrative. Nature compounded the human threats. The Nile carries crocodiles, hippos that can kill without warning. The environment punished mistakes. Flood seasons erased routes, and malaria and brutal heat punished the unprepared. Yet the real danger was political. Vague alliances between local commanders and outside companies extracting oil and timber created incentives to conceal displacement and human rights abuses. Reports from international NGOs and UN agencies confirm that oil revenue and land grabs have been central drivers in multiple conflicts across the Nile basin. Woods' on-the-ground footage dovetailed with these reports, weaving anecdote into a corroborated picture, a systemic silencing and redirection of resources away from river communities. Documentary drama came in small human stories. A teacher in a flooded village showed him a classroom hollowed out by militias. A fisherman in Sudan described a season when foreign trawlers emptied shoals from waters he'd fished since childhood. In one town in South Sudan, Wood watched a convoy of trucks with covered crates leave at dawn. Later, he learned they carried equipment not for schools, but for a newly opened oil camp. The pattern repeated. Land cleared, villages moved, local grievances ignored. International diplomatic talks over Nile water, especially between downstream Egypt, Sudan, and upstream Ethiopia, added another layer. Water politics and dam projects had always been geopolitical. On the ground, those high-level negotiations translated into tents and bullet scars. By the time Wood reached Egypt, the documentary team had footage that was equal parts beauty and indictment. Shimmering papyrus beds and children playing by the river, set against interviews describing displacement and secrecy. The conspiracy, as he framed it, wasn't mystical, it was structural. It hinged on how governments, armed groups, and corporate interests intertwined to extract value from the Nile while silencing the people who depended on it. Walking the Nile was, in its essence, an adventure. Storms, crocodiles, long solitary marches, and the daily negotiation of danger. But it was also a piece of modern reporting. It turned boots-on-the-ground exploration into a documentary that asked inconvenient questions about ownership, stewardship, and the opaque machinery that turns rivers into resources and people into collateral. When Wood reached the Mediterranean, the journey had done more than map a river. It had exposed a contested artery of Africa and the human cost of the struggle to control it.